I still think somebody killed that nigga. I ain't gonna hold you. It's Kevin Samuels all the way. Nah, yeah, a little bit. Kevin would shred them bitch pieces, man. Oh my God. Kevin would, God rest that man. He would, Dr. Elam ain't that bad. I would choose Dr. Elam over Kevin Samuels any day. Man, Kevin would be fighting out this motherfucker. Like, for real. You must got hands to match that mouth, nigga. You talking like you ain't scared to get make. You know what I mean? Nah. It'd have been like Crawford and Canelo fucking with Kevin Samuels. That motherfucker mouth, him. Something just popped up with this nigga the other day, yo. He used to be funny as shit though. But something popped up the other day, and the lady, he was like, how old are you? And she told him, he was like, how much do you weigh? She was like, none of your business. He said, okay, we don't do that on my life. Hey, yo, that shit is crazy, yo. Kevin Samuels, I still think somebody killed that nigga. I ain't gonna hold you. But anyway, nigga, that guy was funny. Long live K. Oh, yeah, Kevin Samuels, definitely. Nobody should be dead. Just why your hand look like you've been back flipping on them up. What you mean, my hands? Look like I've been back flipping on my hands? Bitch, don't make me go to your profile. What the fuck are you talking about?
Yo, listen up. Kevin Samuels has been gone for years, but people are suddenly acting like he was the king all along. Back then, folks talked trash, but now they miss him, and it shows how much the culture has shifted. From respect for black women to real talk about black men, Kevin's influence still hits hard. Was he really that bad, or are we just seeing the difference now? Let's break it down. What is good, everybody? It's your boy O'Shane Duke Jackson back with another episode of the Celebrity Junk. Today, I want to talk about something that is just hilarious. There's this lady, she can come across as rude, obnoxious, even entitled at times. Some people don't even think she's that talented. But she recently went viral for saying something about Kevin Samuels that honestly caught me off guard. Here's the thing. This is someone who has always been outspoken about women's rights, especially black women, constantly advocating for respect and empowerment. She has always been very opinionated. So when she made that comment about Kevin Samuels, it really surprised a lot of people, including me. And it made me stop and think, how often do we see someone so firmly positioned on one side suddenly flip, even slightly, when it comes to a figure like Kevin? Now, let me break this down. Kevin Samuels was not without controversy, right? He had a very direct, sometimes harsh approach, and people had opinions about him for years. But the key thing about Kevin is that he operated in a space of accountability. He challenged black men and women to be honest with themselves, to elevate themselves, to recognize patterns that were holding them back, and he did it without tearing people down unnecessarily. That's what made him effective, even if people didn't like his tone at times. So when this lady, who has always been a champion for black women and pride in black excellence, made that comment, it got people talking. Some thought it was ironic, others thought it was strategic, and a few thought it was just her being her usual, unpredictable self. But what it really shows is how the perception of people can change over time, especially after someone like Kevin Samuels passes away. Suddenly, people who criticized him while he was alive are now giving him praise. Suddenly, the same advice, the same approach, the same accountability he pushed is being celebrated in hindsight, and it's funny because it's not just about Kevin Samuels himself. It's about what he represented: clarity, tough love, and honesty in a culture where nuance often gets lost. People forget that Kevin wasn't there to destroy anyone. He was there to educate, to guide, to challenge, to give perspective. And now, without him, there's a gap. People are looking around, seeing that gap, and trying to fill it with their own takes, some of which miss the point entirely. Think about it. 4 years ago, the energy online was different. There was criticism, sure, but it was also filtered by a level of respect because Kevin didn't wield political or corporate power that could ruin someone's life if they disagreed with him. He could challenge, confront, and call out behaviors, but he wasn't putting people out of jobs or creating mass consequences for speaking their mind. That's why so many now look back and say, man, Kevin wasn't so bad after all. Compare that to what's happening today. We've got people like Charlie Kirk and others who say extreme things, and suddenly, the consequences are real. Jobs are lost, social media accounts are scrutinized, and the margin for error is razor thin. That's a big part of why we see people nostalgically praising Kevin now. They realize the energy they had back then, the dismissiveness, the criticism. It could have been so much worse if it had been directed at someone else. Now, add to that the cultural vacuum Kevin left behind. Movements like the Passport Brothers have stepped in, gaining momentum in his absence. These are people taking similar ideas and twisting them in ways Kevin never did, some actively distancing themselves from Black women or the Black community, or encouraging others to do the same. Kevin's messages had structure, intention, and a sort of cultural accountability. What replaced him lacks that balance and nuance, and the results are visible in the online chaos. And let's be honest, Kevin had a unique way of delivering messages. Harsh, yes. Bold, yes. But grounded in a form of respect that a lot of these new voices simply don't have. He challenged people to improve themselves, to own their actions, to recognize patterns, but he didn't advocate for silencing others, calling them worthless, or trying to actively ruin their lives. He wasn't about separation, he was about progress.so. When this lady went viral for her comments about Kevin, it also sparked an overdue conversation about how people remember him versus how they treated him when he was alive. Social media suddenly became a mirror reflecting all the inconsistencies in public opinion. People who were dismissive suddenly acting like his biggest fans. Critics now echoing praise. And all of it raises questions about authenticity, performative respect, and the way our culture processes influence posthumously. It's also a lesson in accountability, timing, and perspective. People only seem to fully appreciate the value of someone's words after they're gone. Kevin Samuels was more than just a media personality. He was a cultural force that demanded attention, honesty, and self-reflection. And now, without him, we're seeing how much of an impact he truly had. So yes, it's hilarious, it's ironic, and it's eye-opening all at once. The discussion this woman sparked may have surprised some, but it also reminds us all, respect and accountability are timeless. Even if people fail to see it in the moment, history eventually shows who is right, who added value, and who simply capitalized on someone else's platform. And that's why this episode is so important. It's not just about Kevin Samuels or a viral comment. It's about perspective, influence, and cultural memory. People may forget the messiness of the present, but they always remember the impact of honesty, courage, and leadership once the dust settles. Now, Kevin has been gone for about 36 months, actually, going on 40 months. And honestly, I see some of what she said as a sign of respect for him. But here's the question. Why are so many people suddenly in love with Kevin Samuels now? First, let's be real. People always seem stronger after they pass. That's number one. But there's more. Today, we see a lot of figures speaking extreme rhetoric about the Black community, about Black women, about Black people in general, that Kevin Samuels never did. Unlike some of these voices, Kevin's approach was never about tearing people down or creating division. He didn't tell Black women they shouldn't be pilots or that their success is invalid. He used his platform to bring people together, Black business people, women, communities, all while discussing responsibility, standards, and self-improvement. Now, in a world that seems harsher, Kevin's critiques start to look more measured. Back then, when he told you to get yourself together or pointed out areas to improve, it wasn't personal destruction, it was guidance. Today, other commentators actively put people at risk, your job, your reputation, simply for speaking out. That's a big difference. Kevin never had the political power to end someone's career for disagreeing with him. You could challenge Kevin, debate him, even critique him without fear of losing your livelihood. That isn't true for many of today's figures. So now, people look back at Kevin and say, maybe he wasn't that bad after all. Suddenly, Black men aren't evil anymore. Suddenly, some of the tough lessons he gave feel valuable. And this is something Black people, especially Black women, need to understand. Disagreements Arguments and tough love will always exist, but guidance from someone who cares for your community is different from attacks from someone outside it, who has nothing invested in your growth. Kevin wasn't perfect, but he was a cultural icon in how he addressed responsibility, self-improvement, and accountability. He wasn't there to punish or humiliate for sport. He was telling the truth, setting standards, and expecting follow-through. And when you look at today's world, where saying the wrong thing online can cost you your job at a major company or get your life dissected on social media, you realize the difference. Kevin spoke his mind with authority, but without the destructive power others wield today. See, that wasn't the culture 3 years ago. White people weren't actively doing it as aggressively as they are now. But things are getting worse. The disrespect toward the Black community, and Black women in particular, is escalating. Even movements like the Passport Brothers have grown in the vacuum left by Kevin Samuels' passing. That movement really picked up momentum shortly after Kevin died. Guys like Austin Hollow started speaking out, and soon, a whole wave of men began sharing similar arguments to Kevin's. But now, many of them are leaving the Black community or Black women behind, looking elsewhere for fulfillment. And here's the thing, Kevin Samuels was never about leaving people behind. He was about setting standards. He was about accountability. He was about challenging Black men and women to look at themselves honestly, to examine their choices, and to elevate themselves without tearing anyone down for sport. But now, in his absence, a lot of voices have stepped in, voices that are not interested in nuance or community building. Some of them are outright attacking Black women's capabilities, telling them they don't belong in certain careers, questioning their worth, or claiming they're only successful because of diversity quotas. That's the world we're living in now, and Kevin isn't here to balance the conversation. If Kevin had been around to appear on the Pop the Balloon shows back then, which weren't nearly as popular as they are now, maybe the culture would have been different. That kind of mainstream visibility could have helped people understand his perspective without twisting it. But instead, the content has escalated. People are roasting harder, going more extreme, creating viral moments for clout and not for conversation. And when you look back at Kevin Samuels, damn, he was classy by comparison. He wasn't some performative loudmouth trying to get clicks. He had a style. He had a method. He had a message that challenged, educated, and inspired, but he did it without tearing the community apart. I miss him. I really wonder how he would have handled dating shows, reality TV, or any of these social media debates. Now think about this. Some people who openly criticized Kevin, even wishing him dead, took that same energy to Charlie Kirk, and suddenly, reality hit. They lost jobs, got called out publicly, and had to face consequences they didn't expect. That's the key difference. Kevin Samuels never held the kind of political or economic power that could ruin someone's life just for speaking against him. You could challenge Kevin, argue with him, or disagree with him, and you were safe. Now, the stakes are completely different. You overestimate some of these other voices, and suddenly, the consequences are real. You see, the comparison isn't about popularity, it's about influence and power, and here's the irony. Now everyone wants Kevin back. Suddenly, people are saying, Kevin wasn't that bad at all. Kevin wasn't perfect, no one is, but he didn't disrespect Black women, call them names like fees or worse, or push them out of career opportunities. He warned people that winter was coming, and like clockwork, it came. But now, the same people who dismissed him, criticized him, and even mocked him while he was alive, are singing his praises posthumously. It's ironic, it's frustrating, and it shows how human nature, or social media culture, changes the narrative once someone is gone. Let's be real, there's a lesson here. People love to hate while someone is alive, and then they canonize them when they're gone. That's a cycle we've seen over and over, not just with Kevin Samuels, but with countless figures. But the stakes now are different. Social media makes the consequences immediate and public. Your career, your reputation, your personal life, they can all be affected in a matter of hours. Kevin didn't have that power. That's why people could disagree with him safely. Today, if someone says something counter to the mainstream narrative, it can cost them everything. That's the harsh reality we're living in, and we can't ignore the cultural shifts. The Passport Brothers movement is a perfect example. It filled the void left by Kevin's absence, taking his messages and, in some ways, amplifying them, but with a twist. Many of these men are leaving the Black community or criticizing Black women in ways Kevin never would. That shift didn't happen overnight. It's the result of years of neglect, miscommunication, and the absence of constructive voices like Kevin's. And now, young men are watching these movements grow online, internalizing extreme rhetoric that Kevin might have challenged. But he's not here anymore to guide or temper that conversation. We're also seeing the broader impact on Black men and women in the workplace and society at large. Kevin didn't have the capacity to destroy jobs or careers, but now, people in similar positions of influence do. Social media amplifies mistakes, misstatements, and disagreements to a scale that's unprecedented. People who once casually dismissed Kevin Samuels as too harsh or out of touch are now realizing the difference between someone holding you accountable and someone actively trying to dismantle you. And that realization hits hard, especially when you see the consequences firsthand. Now, let's circle back to the social media angle. When Kevin was alive, criticism and debates happened, but they stayed mostly in the realm of ideas. Today, criticism can be weaponized. Screenshots, AI tracking, and viral threads can ruin careers. You might be making a joke or expressing an opinion, and suddenly, it's public, your name is out there, and your livelihood is on the line. Kevin never operated in that space. That's why people look back on him with nostalgia. They're comparing accountability and tough love to the outright attacks happening now. So yeah, Kevin wasn't perfect, but he was a stabilizing force. He had a level of integrity in his criticism. He challenged people, yes, but he didn't endanger them in the process. He respected boundaries, even while being brutally honest. And that's why people miss him. That's why there's a sudden surge of posthumous respect. Kevin's legacy wasn't about ego, it was about accountability, honesty, and pushing people to be better without tearing them apart. And now, in his absence, the world feels harsher, louder, and more reckless. So, where does that leave us? It leaves us reflecting. It leaves us questioning who we really respect and why. It leaves us realizing that social media can distort perception, elevate the wrong voices, and turn accountability into a spectacle. Kevin Samuels might be gone, but his influence, his methods, and his lessons are still relevant, and maybe even more necessary now than ever. So, what do you think? Are people finally seeing the truth about Kevin? Or is this just a fleeting wave of posthumous admiration? That's your boy O'Shane Duke Jackson back with another episode of the Celebrity Junk. I appreciate all you do. Kurt Bell. We're out.